Everyone keeps telling you that living in Mexico is cheap, right? I mean, sunshine, tacos, beach life, done. Pretty simple, no? But here's the question. Do you actually know what it really costs to live here every month? You might actually rethink everything you thought about cheap living here in Bucerías or the Bahía de Banderas or even Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. All right, so let's go to my office, the home office. I'm gonna pull the numbers. I think when I share this with you guys, it is not only gonna surprise you, it may potentially shock you. And for some, it might actually punch you in the gut. All right, everybody, welcome to the home office. This is Joel, the accidental retiree here in Bucerías, Nayarit. Bienvenidos a nuestro canal and bienvenidos to another episode where we are going to be talking about one thing that is on everyone's mind. How much does it cost to live in Mexico? Look, Jillian and I aren't pretending to be budget saints. We live well and, sometimes too well. Hey, Jill? She just gave a nod. And lately I've been starting to track our spending because somehow I felt it was getting out of control. When we first moved here, 13 years ago, believe it or not, our family budget was around $1,500 US for a family of 4. True story. But after 13 years of living in Mexico, I've now realized that the whole concept of cheap living here and the reality of it are two completely different things. And I see a lot of comments and a lot of videos out there, live on Mexico for $1,000 a month. Well, I'm here to test that. So in today's video, I'm going to break down 3 budgets. The first budget is our real budget. We are homeowners, no mortgage, own our own house, 2 people, 6 pets, 2 cars, real life. And I guess sometimes we can throw a daughter into that mix who lives here most of the high season, the winter months. The second budget I'm going to show you is essentially a lean homeowner's budget, simple living, fewer luxuries, and just more minimalistic living. And the third budget I'm going to give you is a bare bone renter's budget. Think living on the Upper East Side here in Bucerías or one of the other towns like Valle de Bravo here in the Bahía de Banderas. So let's take a look at Joel and Jillian's budget. Budget number 1. These numbers might actually surprise you. So when you actually live here, you find that all the little things, and just like they would in Canada, United States, start to add up. It's like the little stuff. But if you like good meat, like aged beef that you can get from Costco, that comes from Canada right now, and good wines and that kind of thing, the bill can get a little high. Personal care, Jillian has her things, I have mine. Still, when you compare it to prices in Canada, the United States, much cheaper, but at the end of the day, these things aren't free. 4 cats, 2 dogs. Boomer, he could eat like a linebacker if we allowed him to, but we keep him on a little bit of a diet. Pool, gardener, cleaning, because I actually suck at all 3 of those things. Essentially standard homeowner stuff that we opted to pay for. All right, medical insurance, this always shocks people, and I do get a lot of questions on it. What about medical insurance? Well, here are the real numbers for our family, which essentially at $500 a month is just something that we can't live without. Our insurance is in place, basically not for the day-to-day. If you had to go to the doctor, we usually just pay cash, which is pretty affordable, but it's there in case of an emergency, something really bad that could potentially happen. So insurance is a must here in Mexico. And the grand total of our budget, I'm gonna put a link in the description so you can actually download this instead of me just going through line by line. At the end of the day, let's go right to the grand total of 81,789 pesos, around 4,400 US dollars per month. Also, that doesn't include things like one-time purchases, furniture upgrades, or the horses, which are almost like car payments themselves at 6,000 pesos a month. And of course, our travel. Is Mexico cheap or affordable? Well, it can be. So let's get into the other 2 budgets. Let's say you're a homeowner, you have a moderate house or a moderate apartment here in Bucerías, and you just want to live clean and simple. No wine habit like us, don't judge me. No artisan coffee addiction, no horses, no ongoing massages, acupuncture, that kind of thing. Essentially, basically, no fun. Hey, Jill, no fun. No pool, no gardener. Pool in of itself is a costly item that a lot of people really don't consider when they want a pool. Like even if you get rid of the pool guy, you still have all the chemicals and you have the electricity cost to run that thing. So I'm doing this budget with someone who bought a small home with no pool, or potentially living in a condo where all that stuff is shared amongst other owners. So it's built into your monthly condo fees. This budget has a little bit of a higher electricity because I'm assuming you don't have solar, but if you invested one time in solar, you could reduce that budget line item. And you don't have a car, you're walking, you're taking public transport, and on occasion Ubering, or potentially you're renting a car when need be, and you can adjust that budget number up and down. So kind of a lean homeowner budget comes out to 34,500 pesos a month. I think this is pretty reasonable and realistic, essentially totally doable. But let's be honest with one another. Once you settle into the life here in Mexico, sometimes these cheap or affordable principles get thrown out the window. So I think there has to be a little bit of a realistic expectation that you may in fact go above that budget and find a sweet spot somewhere in between what we're spending and somewhere in between this lean and mean homeowner budget. Now, if you really want to stretch your dollar, for sure you can find rental options outside of Bucerías, as I said, Valle de Banderas, and everything kind of in between there and Mezcales. But the trade-off is you're going to have longer transport by buses if you don't have a car, but likely if you live out in one of these areas, you're going to have to add the vehicle into your budget. But that being said, if you're prepared to live on the Upper East Side here in Bucerías, I really feel that you can find something that will accommodate two people for 25,000 pesos a month or less. Groceries, I mean, same cost. Nobody's going to escape the grocery bill. All right, so this budget comes to 55,545 pesos, so roughly about $3,000 a month. And I think it is reasonable for a couple who are on a strict budget. And I do know people who actually live on this exact budget. So this is the actual real deal. Okay, so here's the reality check. And when I'm talking Mexico, I am specifically talking the Valle de Banderas, Puerto Vallarta area. And, you know, if you get into Puerto Vallarta, it's going to have a different expense, like a different cost that I will probably have to do another video on. Go live in a place like Versailles, it's going to have a different cost. So my expertise is right here in the Bucerías and surrounding area. So I believe this is a budget that if you are looking to move to Bucerías, potentially La Cruz, or any of the surrounding little towns, these are budgets that will be in line with expectations. Now, Mexico is also a very big country, so a budget. So if you're looking at a general budget for Mexico, you can't really use this because this is just a budget for this particular area. So keep in mind that a budget for Mexico City could be completely different than a budget for Aguascalientes, or if you're to live in Mascota in Jalisco would be different than a budget here. But this will give those who follow our channel or are interested in this general area a very good idea of what to expect. So at the end of the day, Mexico is neither cheap nor expensive. It really is going to depend on you. Jillian likes to say, you can spend as much money as you want here. Hey, Jill? Yep. Like if you want to live like a king, you can live like a king, but you're also going to pay a king's prices because you're basically buying all the things that the king wants to buy. You like your daily Starbucks, that's your thing. You're going to pay Starbucks prices. You like steak from Costco, you're going to be paying Costco steak prices to get that meat. Imported shampoo, the same thing. Just because its shampoo is being sold in Mexico doesn't make the shampoo any cheaper here. A matter of fact, with import duties and taxes, you're probably going to be paying a lot more for your imported shampoo than you would in Canada or the States. But some things you can do is shop local like us, eat local. When we go for tacos, we're going to the local taqueria on the corner. We're not generally going to a fancy restaurant to eat overpriced tacos. Like we're eating street tacos. So the more street food you can eat, the more local you can eat. We love to order from Cenaderia Cuatro Hermanos. We've done a video on them and we order from them at least once a week, eh, Joel? You know, sometimes we'll skip a week, but normally Mondays is our Cenaderia day. Order of 3 enchiladas and I usually get a couple sopes and it comes out to around 450 pesos with delivery. Throw in a tip on top of that. You know, that's our dinner and that's for 3 of us. So when our daughter's here, that's what we would spend to order in delivered for 3. So really, what is it going to cost you to live in Mexico and how can you budget? I think you can look at our budget and the more affordable budget, and probably it's going to be somewhere in the middle is going to be your sweet spot, or perhaps you've got tastes way beyond ours and you can use our budget as your base budget and you're going to essentially go up from there. I have to say, retiring in Mexico, moving here 13 years ago, was one of the best decisions our family has ever made. It's truly been a blessing for us. But guys, don't come here blind. Have a plan, budget realistically, and make sure your budget is in line with your expectations. So maybe what I'll do in a follow-up video is look at what our budget would cost in Calgary. We're actually going there for a few days in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to check out some prices. I'm going to bring some data back to Mexico, and I'll do a follow-up video comparing what our budget is here in Mexico. We don't have to go through all the items again, but just like the bottom line. And then we could see what it would cost for us today in today's Canadian dollars to live in Calgary, Alberta, where we're from. So guys, super important. If you like this video, if you want to see more stuff like that, I need to hear comments, ask your questions. Please suggest in the comments what kind of videos you want to see from me, Joel, the accidental retiree. Since we're going through some transition in our life right now, getting out of our real estate project, selling BC Bucerías, we're trying to find this new sweet spot here with YouTube. So I'm interested to hear from you guys what you actually want us to produce. What content do you want to see on this channel? So on that note, like, subscribe, toggle the notification bell. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks again for joining us. Nos vemos. Hasta luego and adiós desde la casa de la familia Goralski aquí en Bucerías, México.